And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
Well, hello, RBLR Nation. It's another week. It's a Bucs life. It was an ugly game. There's really not much else to say, but thankfully we've got two great co-hosts with me, Zach Blaine and Musab. Zach, we'll start with you. Say hello to the people. Just lift our spirits. I'm just done with it.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I don't know how much spirit lifting I can do today, brother. It's I feel like we needed Santiago on this episode.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Santiago being out for family reasons, that's tough, man, because Santiago could have brought some positive.
Right, he's the optimistic one. I think the three of us are more realistic / pessimistic, so we'll see what happens.
Right. I appreciate the realism for sure. Usam, how about you? How are you doing? Are you feeling a little more glass half full kind of guy, or are you just as kind of disappointed and done with it as the rest of us? Say hello to the people.
Well, yeah, first of all, hello to the people, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back here again, RBLR Sports, RBLR Bucs, with the gang. We got Zach and Carter in their house, but when it comes to how I feel very humbled.
That's a good word for it.
I will say, listen, I knew this day was going to come, or this time was going to come, but every single team is going to hit some kind of wall, or I don't know. They're just not going to be running it back. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you want to win the Super Bowl every single year. You want to hit the playoffs. You want to hit the finals. How many teams actually do that? 5 years in a row, 3 years, 4 years, 5, 6, 7. You know what I'm saying? So the time was meant to be, and this is the time for reflection. This is the time for evaluating. I'm not saying, hey, listen, let's just rebuild, but we have to think about what's going on right now. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
I just think that there's basically, long story short, there's some dinks and doinks going on, in my opinion. Even if we fix those, are we going to be the number one team? We'll see about that. It all comes down to execution. But if we fix those dinks and doinks, I really, really do think that we'd be a big, big contender.
Absolutely. Yeah, so you've kind of given us a great segue into our show because, as we've mentioned, this game this past Sunday was just awful. It was horrendous. They lost to the 49ers 35-7, in case you aren't, in case you're living under a rock or something. They just looked awful from the get-go. Gave up 28 points in the first half. They scored none. It was just over. I think I don't want to speak for y'all, but I turned it off at halftime. I couldn't bear to watch the whole thing. It was truly atrocious. Guys were getting hurt. Vita Vea went down at the first drive. Our JTS, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, also went down later with an injury. It's just pretty much worst case scenario, losing to, with all due respect to Brock Purdy, a 7th round pick. It's just terrible. You expected the Bucs to have a tough time, but you expected it to at least be competitive, and it was anything but that. So Zach, just kind of some initial thoughts. I've kind of already given some of my initial thoughts and reactions. What are just some general thoughts about this past game this Sunday? Just let the people know how you're feeling about it.
Yeah, I think we kind of had the same thoughts. I wasn't even watching the game. Michaela and I had our baby shower on Sunday, so it was probably the perfect game to have the baby shower on because
we're having a joyful occasion.
Yeah, exactly. Watching, looking at the stats on my phone, it was just, I couldn't believe how bad it was getting. And then seeing obviously on Twitter, all the people going down, it was just, I didn't expect Brock Purdy to come out and look like in my opinion, an above average quarterback, because you nailed it on the head. He was Mr. Irrelevant for a reason. He was very good at Iowa, I think, right?
Iowa. Yep.
So, he was a stud in Iowa, but how many Iowa quarterbacks come out and do good in the NFL? You know what I mean? So it just feels like I wasn't expecting our defense to kind of allow him to look above average.
For sure. Yeah, you expected the offensive struggles because the 49ers have the best defense in the NFL, and the Bucs have one of the worst offenses in the NFL. So you kind of
exactly.
Yeah, you kind of expected that, but good Lord, to just allow the amount of points that they did. I get that the 49ers have a lot of great playmakers, but my goodness, it was a real
Well,
tough watch.
I mean, they have a lot of playmakers, but didn't Debo Samuel get hurt in the first
Yep,
quarter?
that's a great
So
point.
it's like
Right.
he's their number one playmaker. I know they have McCaffrey now, who is just doing ridiculous things, even with San Francisco. Like, he's a stud. But aside from those two, when you knock out one of them, you think it'd be easier for them to contain McCaffrey, and even he still had like 119 yards on the day. So it just felt like there was nothing that we could do defensively to stop them.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, they still got George Kittle, but even Kittle didn't seem super duper involved in the offense as much as he normally is. He's been a bit off and on this year, dealing with some injuries. But yeah, Musab, how about you? What are some kind of initial thoughts, reactions to this game? Just tell the people how you're feeling about it.
Well, for me, and perhaps maybe a lot of people were thinking, yeah, Brady's looking nice, especially with these kind of comeback wins or these last second wins or whatever. Jimmy Garoppolo out, going against Brock Purdy. We shall win, maybe it'll be a close loss. Okay. But obviously it didn't turn out like that, unfortunately. And that's my overall thought, honestly. There were a lot of issues around the offense and the defense, injuries, guys going down, and I'll just leave it at that. I mean, this was disappointing. This is what I call actually disappointing. Some losses have just been because of whatever reason, I don't know, but a loss like this is the second disappointing one we have. First one being the one against Carolina Panthers, just because it's the Carolina Panthers, but fine. I get it. Their defense is good, but come on, man, we have some things to work on, seriously, on both ends. And I have to say, I'm going to call it out right now. There's some things even not minus the players, the coaching staff, the management. All right. Now it's actually arising to the, situation where it's like, come on, we got to do something big right now. Otherwise, it's over. All right. Carter and Zach, is this the time, maybe after this game, this upcoming game against the Bengals? Because, it's the Bengals we're talking about. Okay. They're not no Carolina Panthers, no
Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, Cleveland Browns, crappy team,
Yeah.
Or even, well, I'll tell you this, man, Cleveland Browns beat us. So you know what, man? I guess we have to put them above us, huh?
Yeah, same with the
All
Panthers.
I'm saying is, I guess what I'm curious to know is, when it comes to changes, are we thinking just a few things, or are there some drastic changes? Is this like the biggest wake-up call that we've had in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not going to speak for Zach. From just from my perspective, it's definitely big change coming down. Just because the whole Tom Brady factor is huge, and I don't think he comes back. Why would he want to? I mean, this team's a mess. Their head coaching, their coaching staff and starting with the coach seems to just have kind of lost their grip on what winning football is. They're 6-7 for a reason. They're not a very good team right now. So the fact that Brady's likely gone, either retirement or signing somewhere else, that just makes it incredibly difficult, to really predict what this team does. Because, do you want to fire the head coach? Do you want to fire Todd Bowles, even though he signed that 4-year deal? Do you want to let Kyle Trask get a turn? Let him show us what he's got. Or do you want to try to sign a quarterback? I mean, there's just a multitude of options, a lot of different routes they could go. And if Brady's not here, they're not Super Bowl contenders. They're not playoff contenders. They're going to be cellar dwellers more than likely. So you got to start thinking about draft picks, about dealing some guys. You got to start thinking about salary cap. So it's some dark days ahead for the Bucs for sure. Zach, how about you? I spoke a lot.
Yeah, no, but you picked up basically everything that I was going to say. I think there's one quarterback in the free agency market that's coming up that would keep us a playoff contender or a Super Bowl contender, and that's Lamar Jackson. Right. And the odds of us getting him are slim to none.
For sure.
But in my opinion, I shared something on Twitter about it today. You and I had a little conversation about it. Mm-hmm. What's the hurt? Brady's not coming back. Like, if he comes back, I would be shocked. So Brady's not coming back. Why not start Trask this year? Don't even worry about maybe sign a backup, but don't worry about winning next season.
For sure.
Because I think that we start Kyle Trask. The worst case scenario is we get a high draft pick. Best case scenario, Kyle Trask is that guy.
For sure.
Like, there's a reason we drafted him in the 3rd round. So we start him. It's a win-win in my opinion.
For sure. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Zach. Absolutely. You run out with Trask, see what he's got. But that kind of brings me to another point. Because we're talking about the future just because this season has just gone so abysmal that it's just we can't keep talking about, well, they need to run the ball better. Well, their defense needs to force turnovers. Well, Tom Brady doesn't have enough time. He keeps dumping it off. There's only so many times you can say.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just going to be the same thing over and over again. They are who they are as a football team. So it's time to start evaluating what this team is moving forward, who they are. So, I mean, looking to the future, are there any guys that you want to keep around moving forward? Just because with a team having such a disappointing season with the amount of salary cap issues that they're going to have and, always having to look for draft picks, the Eagles have shown what an abundance of draft picks can do for a team. They've had a huge turnaround this year because they've had so many first-round picks. So is there anyone worth keeping around, I guess is the main question. Zach, we'll start with you. Offensively, defensively, even special teams if you want to get crazy. Any guys that you really look at and say, all right, there's no way they can trade them?
I mean, I feel like there's a few guys that you look at and you're like, we can't get rid of him. Antoine Winfield, like he can't go anywhere. He's a stud. Devin White, I think, is, if you would have asked me at the beginning of this year, someone who I would have said can't go anywhere. Like, he's integral. Now, I don't think so anymore. But as far as defense goes, I'd say Vita Vea, Antoine Winfield. Those are probably the only two that I'd say cannot trade. Offensively, that's where I'm kind of up in the air because I love Mike Evans. I want him to be a Buck forever. But if we don't have anyone that can throw him the ball, then why not get what we can get out of him? He's going to get us either high draft capital or a good player in return. So offensively, I think Tristan Wirfs, maybe. I really like Leverett, however you say his name. I know that he's kind of an underdog story, but I really like him, and I think he's got the dog in him. So he's someone that just purely out of joy of watching him play, not like skill level, I don't want him to get traded.
For sure. I don't mean to chuckle. I'm mostly if you asked us at the beginning of the season how many players they'd want to keep around or who they'd want to keep around, I think Nick Leverett is near the bottom of that.
Yeah. I didn't even know who he was at the beginning of the season, exactly. Let alone at the bottom of the list.
Exactly, but because of injuries and all of that. But I agree, he's been a great little, diamond in the rough kind of guy. He's stepping up and doing what he can. That's all you can do. Musab, how about you? Any guys that you look at and you see, we can't trade that guy. The Bucs need to keep him. If you're the general manager, we can't get rid of him. But any guys like that on either side of the ball that you can think of?
It's just, I'm gonna keep it real with you. It's our stars and all that. We talking D White, Levante David, the D line. It's looking good. Offensive side, I'm talking Mike Evans, and unfortunately, as Zach said, Brady's not coming back. We are in an extremely tough period, but we have to swallow it now. Might as well just toss and Trask. Let's see what we can do. I don't know. Change things up. It's just, guys, I just hate how the fact that we just lose to these backups, or you know what I'm saying? The last time I remember that we had some crappy loss was Simeon, on the Saints. Took down Winston. We're like, haha, Winston, you're down. Like, screw you. And then boom, out of nowhere. Okay, Simeon's bossing around us. So what's going on, man? Minus our stars, they have the experience and, they've showed out. I just think that, there are some behind the scenes things to look at / supporting role members. All right. Help these defensive captains out. Help the offensive captains out. Okay. So that's really about. I'm just gonna keep it real with you. I think that's really about it for me. I mean, I think the experience and veteranship is there, and I mean, I think we have good leaders. But the thing is, I mean, this is a 22-man game. We're talking 11 on both sides, including Ryan Suckup. I guess we'll make it 23, and our OG punter, Mr. Jay Camardo, 24. All right. So, anyways, long story short, I mean, yeah, that's really about it. It's a team effort. We got to make some changes around. I'm not an expert, but the office needs to investigate on both ends, and that's really about it. I mean, I'll reiterate. I mean, I'm talking management and the players. Something needs to happen I'm talking some serious meeting or discussion because there's just a whole lot of things going on. From a fan's perspective, Carter and Zach, we're thinking, well, it's Brady's team, Buccaneers, Super Bowl champions, et cetera, and you're wondering what the hell's happening. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
We're just hitting this wall like this hard. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, no team. I already mentioned no team is going to keep running it back, but this is kind of a stinger. Actually, no, not kind of. This is a big stinger for me.
Right. Yeah.
Enough is enough.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's definitely sad to see. Well, sad's putting it very dramatic. It's tough to. But it's
well, damn it, let's be dramatic.
I mean, it's
God, Carter, it's okay to cry, man.
I'm not about to cry over no damn football. Actually. Well, but regardless, I'm with you. I feel like there's just, I don't know, there aren't really very many untouchable players on this team once Brady's gone. It feels like with the NFL, every kind of position is replaceable. There are obvious exceptions to the rule. Like Justin Jefferson, I think, as a wide receiver is not replaceable. But for the most part,
that's fair.
Right. Every position other than quarterback is kind of interchangeable. You can find another guy that's going to produce relatively solid numbers for the most part. The Bucs just don't have a game-changing player other than Tom Brady. So in my mind, honestly, I don't know that you trade anyone this offseason. I don't know that the Bucs trade anyone or get rid of anyone or cut anyone, etc. this offseason because they want to give Kyle Trask a fair shake. Round pick on him. So guys away, try to tank, try to rebuild. Then you're not giving him a fair chance. But after next season, if Kyle Trask fails to work out, if he is a dud, then I think you got to look at really trading pretty much everyone. I love Tristan Wirfs. He's an amazing right tackle, but good Lord. I mean, their salary cap situation is just so stinking bad. I mean, they've kept using these voidable contracts things that, the Eagles and the Saints have been famous for the past few years. You got to pay the piper at some point, the Reapers. Yeah. And, that's just the harsh reality. So everyone has to be on the table, including Tristan Wirfs. As much as I love that guy, he's one of the best right tackles, if not the best right tackle in the NFL. But, him, Brian Jensen, they're all on the shopping block. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, they're all expendable. They could be cut, traded, whatever. So now that we've kind of talked about what players we kind of want to keep around, now it's time to turn the focus to the coaching staff because we've talked about it ad nauseum how awful this coaching staff has seemed to be this year. The play calling, Todd Bowles' clock management decisions, but based on the Browns game. I mean, good Lord, just some really really rough showings, and the fact that this team's underperforming with as much talent as this team has, they shouldn't be playing this poorly. So. All of that to say, do you think that they give Bowles another year? I think Leftwich is gone, but maybe you think that he stays around too? Or do you think they give them both another year to kind of figure it out, / maybe try to tank for Caleb Williams next year? There's been a lot of Caleb Williams edits going around, so, got to throw that in there. Zach, we'll start with you. Keep Todd Bowles around next year, get rid of him. How are you feeling about it?
They better both be gone next year.
Okay.
Again, I'm all over Twitter today. Work was real slow. So
right.
I saw someone posted that Greg Schiano was their least favorite Tampa Bay coach ever. And Todd Bowles is slowly making his way down there.
Mm-hmm.
He's already there for me. His play calling is awful. I know that also lies on Leftwich as well, but I think that just as a whole, that they have brought a team that had such a high-ranked offense last season to bottom of the league this year, and I just think that it's not going to get any better. So, like, why not start over? If we're going to rebuild and we're going to have Trask, why not just start over fresh? Like, I get that we gave him a 4-year deal, but I think that we expected him to be better than what he was, which I don't know why. We should have seen it when he was with the Jets. Like, it should have been expected.
Right.
But everyone had all these high hopes for him. I just don't think that they're working out. Even the kids agree. But I mean, it seems like it's a waste of time to even give him another shot. I think it just needs to be thank you for your service, thank you for your time, but we're gonna go with Frank Reich.
Oh man, I don't know if anything, but yeah, me and Zach got into a little tiffy on Twitter over Frank Reich, excuse me. And yeah, regardless, I'm with you, Zach. I would love to see Todd Bowles and Byron Leftwich gone. They've done an absolutely poor job, not living up to expectations. And Musab, we'll pass it to you. Do you agree with Zach? You think maybe they deserve another year, or maybe just from financial perspective, it makes sense to keep them around, or tanking, whatever the reason may be? How are you feeling about it?
When it comes to financial tanking perspectives, financial wise, I mean, who knows what goes on behind the scenes? Who knows what they really make it happen or how they make it happen when it comes to the finances? Running it back another year, no. I mean, there's going to be some changes for sure. Two things. First of all, I'm going to have to say this. For the last 2 weeks, a lot of my buddies been calling Todd Bowles Booty Bowles. All right. And you know what? I have don't disagree. I don't know, man. You know, it's one thing to like look a little bit off, and you know, you have your own little kind of coaching transition issues. But this is the Buccaneers we're talking about, and you know, one side of me is like, yeah, you know, I mean, you know, they're responsible for it too. But another side of me thinks, Zach and Carter, is we've gone through a lot of changes during this offseason and during the season, of course. And it just makes me think, I mean, is it more of a 50-50, or is this, you know, how are you kind of, when it comes to the balance beam, are you leaning more on like the management side or the player side? What is the biggest thing that we just got to fix? I mean, top priority when it comes to maybe this offseason, because, you know, I don't know, the chips are down or whatever. We're not looking good. We're not feeling good. You know, we can't be saying, you know, we can't be running around like hooligans saying, no, it's not over. Brady's got it. We're going to win the Super Bowl, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So I'm just curious, you know, as of right now, you know, what is the biggest thing that you're thinking, all right, you know what, like, if they don't focus on this during the off season, I'm going to break my heart, or my heart's going to be broken.
That's a great question. I think definitely just if they do decide to move on from Todd Bowles, getting that right. You know, it also, like they always say, good organizations start at the top, and it starts with leadership. And you know, if you have a shaky head coach like the Bucs have this year, you know, we've seen it around the league. The Broncos. I hate to bring that team up because they're a team that's our producer's favorite team, but you know, Nathaniel Hackett, he has been a hack. You know, no pun intended.
Take that, Eureka.
Right. Oh man. But yeah, I mean, the Broncos are a great example. The Chargers, were Super Bowl favorites going into this year. I mean, they've been just as much of a disappointment as the Bucs, in my opinion. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with the coaching staff. So I think that there are some great options out there. I think that there's some really, really talented coaches that just need a shot at the head coaching gig. You know, the 49ers defensive coordinator, D'Amico Ryans, is tremendous. Eric Bieniemy from Kansas City, I still don't know how he doesn't have a job. You know, there are options out there other than just, you know, again, with all due respect to Frank Reich, just going through the same that have success elsewhere. You know, it's just, I'd love to see them give a new coach a shot. You know, just get a fresh face in there, and have them be the right one. It would be wonderful to see them give a new coach a good chance. You know, Zach, how about you? How are you feeling about it? You want them more focused on the personnel versus the coaching staff, or you still feel the same way as I do?
See, I feel like it's he had mentioned kind of a 50-50 thing.
Right.
I think coaching staff has to be changed. If it's not, again, it's just a lost season in my opinion. But I also think that we do have to look into personnel next season or this off season because we have 26 players that are going to be free agents. Um,
Yeah.
Granted, a majority of those players are not our star players or even big role players. Some of them are though. But I
Right.
think that going into it, if we're going to have Brady gone and we're going to switch up coaching, I think that maybe aim for a guy. And again, I know it's a huge aim. He's probably not going to leave the Ravens, but aim for a guy like Lamar. Aim for that all-star player who's still young. Because if we can get a new coaching regime and we can get that quarterback, then I don't think we're as far out as most people would assume after Brady leaves.
Wow. Okay. A little bit of optimism there. I like
Yeah,
it.
you know what? I had to pull a little bit of Santiago out.
Hey.
I had to do it.
Okay.
I just it feels like if I and again this is all speculation because realistically I could see them sticking with what they got, running Todd Bowles, Byron Leftwich, and Kyle Trask next season. But I feel like if we want the rebuild per se to be quick, we've got to not hope for a good draft pick because who knows? Bowles might not even be able to tank good. Like,
Yeah, he hasn't been able to do his job properly this year.
exactly.
Tank properly too. That's a great point. I mean, shoot. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. Running it back wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but they do have a lot of free agents, and you want to keep a lot of those personnel. But yeah, I mean, with the right head coach in place, and maybe just even an intermediate quarterback like a Jimmy Garoppolo, or just run it out there with Kyle Trask, this team could still be relatively successful, especially because the rest of this division looks awful. I mean, they're not getting any better anytime soon. So they could very easily still win this division and be another
Yeah.
first exit. Just build some confidence with Kyle Trask, maybe get him into a playoff game. Who knows what could happen? But yeah, I'm with you. And especially, I mean, I wrote about this past off season, or maybe it was 2 off seasons ago. Regardless, whenever I did, Aaron Rodgers has been playing really poorly in Green Bay, and
Mm-hmm.
he comes with his own set of problems. He has his own weird off the field stuff with the vaccine and a whole bunch of other stuff. He seems to be a head case in the locker room.
Peyote or whatever.
Right? Yeah, and whatever
Ayahuasca or whatever the hell it was.
psychedelic drugs he takes, and also he's paid a lot of money. He's getting paid $40+ million.
Yeah.
So there would be a lot of things that would have to happen for that trade to happen. Plus, the Bucs would likely have to give up some kind of draft capital, but Green Bay seems ready to move on. Aaron Rodgers is probably ready to move on. So, they got Jordan Love sitting there, who it's rumored that if he's not starting next year, he's going to ask for a trade. So who knows? There are a bunch of things that are up in the air.
No.
Anything can happen. Zach, what were you going to say?
Did Rodgers, doesn't he have an opt-out in his contract?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I could be wrong, but I thought that it was a 3-year contract with opt-outs for both years at the end. He could decide when he wanted to essentially be done. Again, it could be very wrong, but I think that may have been the case.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, if he does have an opt-out, that makes things a lot easier for the Bucs.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, screw it, we'll move on anyways. But there's also rumors of the Broncos moving on from Russell Wilson automatically after this year.
I don't want him.
Don't
I don't want him. I don't want him. Broncos country, he can ride with y'all.
Right. But I mean, look, if the Broncos cut him this offseason, then they only have $34 million to pay him for the rest of his contract, which is heinous. I get it, but compared to the amount of money that they have to pay him if they didn't cut him, regardless, this is all spitball and this is super tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, out of left field. But anyways, it's certainly something that's interesting to talk about. And it's fun to talk about because everyone loves to talk about change. But yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot of changes that would have to be made. But it doesn't have to change. the RBLR shop. It's the best shop in the world. I mean, good Lord, you can get some dope threads on there. You can get some really, really fresh gear. Just go on there, take a look around, peruse, get some holiday gifts, a bunch of holidays coming up. And, just, or buy something for yourself, Self-love is very important, treat yourself, as they say. So, there's a promo code. It's Canon, CANONS, 10% off your order. And, yeah, just shoot that on in there. Link in the description. Hit up the shop and, do the damn thing. But now that we've talked about the future so much, we've kind of spoken it to death. And, it's time to move on to some actual football that's being played this week. The Bucs take on the Bengals. We kind of mentioned it before. The Bengals, obviously, defending AFC champs. They've been wonderful this season as well. Joe Burrow's been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Their defense has been solid. Not anything to write home about. Certainly not San Francisco, but they have enough pass rush. They've got a solid secondary to certainly give the Bucs offense some problems. Not that they need any more problems, but kind of initial thoughts on the game. Yeah, how are y'all feeling about this game moving forward? Musab, we'll start with you. What are you thinking going forward with this Bengals game? Initial thoughts from you.
Just prove that we still got something with it. That's the big thing. Okay. Just because, this Bengals team is not playing around, and we're already kind of looking off. So as of right now, the big thing for me is just, wondering, when are things going to click together? All right. Let's just take it slowly. All right. No, not slowly and slowly, but, we have to pick up things together right now. Let's just focus on our team right now because, we need to get these kind of things out of the picture where it's like, oh, yeah, we're about to run over everyone. We'll be fine. We're going to make it to the playoffs, win the Super Bowl, et cetera, et cetera. All right. It's I really hate to say it, gentlemen, but it's time to get real and real as each loss comes along. And as of right now, I'm just thinking, hey, listen, if there's any potential for this team or the players, the coaches, whatever, to prove that, we still have something with it. We've had our dinks and doinks. We have our issues, but now we're going to fix it up. This is the time against a good competitor like the Bengals. So that's my big thing in my head right now. But Zach, how do you feel?
Far less optimistic than you. I think that if we show up and perform, it would be amazing. Realistically, Joe Burrow is playing some of the best football you can play right now. Jamar Chase is back. Samaje Perine looks like an all-star running back, a Pro Bowl running back, all-star. I'm talking baseball. Sorry, that's the RBLR Rays coming out. I apologize, but no, just that whole team looks so good, especially offensively. And I know everyone picks on Eli Apple from last season, but that defense looks relatively good too. Very middle of the road, but it just doesn't look like it's going to end well for us. That's, I guess, where I'm at with it.
Fair enough. Well, Musab, since you're Mr. Optimism, I want to give you a follow-up question. If this game goes well, even let's say the Bucs don't necessarily win, but at least if they look competitive, or let's say they do win, does it kind of restore faith? Are you back on oh man, maybe this team's got something, maybe they can make a playoff run? Or are you more like, oh, well, it's nice to see that we haven't totally given up on this season, but they still suck? How are you feeling? Are you more like, all right, let's go if they play well, or are you more real, more down to earth? How are we feeling about it?
If we win, it's because of the defense, and if we win, it's because it's a low scoring game. We come through at the end for whatever reason, but it's not like, oh my God, like I have no expectation that this offense is going to fire on off all cylinders. We're about to make it a dogfight. There's a possibility, maybe, just maybe, we scrape a win. I don't think so. But as long as we show a good dogfight, that's all I'm happy for. More eyes on the defense and offense. I just mixed feelings. Honestly, these last few weeks I've just had such mixed feelings. Every single game is a different game. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Is listen, as long as we're putting up a good dogfight, we're showing that we at least still have it. That's what matters. But I don't know. I'm just praying to God we don't get run over like we did this past week. That's a big thing for me. It's
fair.
embarrassing.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, I'm with you, Musab. It would be tough to watch back-to-back blowouts. Yeah, I mean it's going to be difficult to swallow. It's a tough pill to swallow if they get blown out again, like they just did. So yeah, I'm with you. I would love to just see a competitive football game, but like you, I'm also priming myself for another tough one. Speaking specifically about aspects of this game. Vita Vea has been ruled doubtful. Todd Bowles has said that he did not expect Vea to play this Sunday. And, the Bengals, as much as Joe Burrow has been playing fantastic, deserves all the credit in the world. Like Zach mentioned, Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine are also having themselves some excellent seasons, some great games. Joe Mixon had that one game, I think it was against Carolina, where he's racking up touchdown after touchdown after touchdown.
He had like 58 fantasy points. I played whoever had Joe Mixon that week, and I remember that day. Ridiculous.
For sure. So yes, Zach, we'll start with you. How do the Bucs manage to slow down that running game, or is there a chance for them to give up 150 plus rushing yards against this Bengals offense without Vita Vea? Zach, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think that it's very realistic to see the Bengals do essentially whatever they want on the ground game without Vea. I think that there's ways we can adjust and hopefully stop it. I know Carl Nassib has played a decent role in what he's supposed to be doing.
For
so
sure.
I think that realistically, if we throw in some guys, Nunez, Roches, and Carl Nassib, who don't get as much playing time but deserve it, I think that we could limit it, but I'd still expect at least over 100-yard game from one of them.
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Musab, how about you? How do you think the Bucs limit this Bengals explosive offense in general, especially getting after the quarterback, but also mostly, as me and Zach mentioned, focus on the running game? How are you feeling about the loss of Vita Vea? How can the Bucs kind of supplement the fact that he's not going to be there more than likely?
Well, how will they? Is just they toss in the next guy, and it just comes down to, all right, well, how does that guy do? All right, and from there, it's just seeing, all right, how do we make the best out of it? Okay, yeah, this is as you said, yeah, the rushing game is dangerous. So is the passing game, but they have their injuries, so maybe we'll take that to our advantage. And for me, I'm thinking we just need to be aggressive. I don't know what it is, but it's almost like, some games just really throw us off based on a tape that we've watched or something. And long story short, I think more importantly, quarter by quarter, we need to be aware that if needed be, we need to change our kind of game plan or something. All right. We need to be more aggressive on the game plan is my thinking. All right. Because we already got, as you said, we got Vita Vea down. He's crucial player, of course, and we just had so many issues in and out, guys getting banged up and all that. As of right now, the injury report's not looking too beautiful, guys. It really isn't. We'll see how it is, come Friday night, Saturday night, or whatever. But as of right now, it's looking a little concerning, of course. And I'm just wondering, well, what's going to happen?
Right. Yeah.
This is just a time just to see, what we can make the best out of it now. It's more, it's not even like glass half empty or glass half full. It's just saying, guys, we are kind of just trying to survive at this point. Honestly, we're trying to make the best out of it. We have the right tools here and there, but it's like, the best way to say is like, there are 3 or 4 crucial or worthy piece tools in this huge box of toolboxes that are full of maybe, I don't know, 80%, 75, 80% of just on and off useless toolboxes, or tools or whatever, screwdrivers, hammers, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. All right.
Okay.
And we just need to pick out the right. It's like we're just closing our eyes and just putting our hand in the toolbox and saying, okay, let's just see if this works.
For sure.
Let's just take some time to reflect. I think that's what my opinion is.
I really like that analogy. I really like it. Confused the hell out of me, but I really liked it.
Right.
And honestly, guys, it came to my head. I was just, I just fixed my like light box or, the little light switch or in my laundry room. That's why, and a lot of the tools didn't work. But towards the end, one of the tools kind of helped me a little bit, and I was like, oh, okay, there you have it. So maybe it
So
just requires a little bit of thinking. I don't
Right.
know.
so basically what you're saying is the Bucks' problem to fixing their offense is just fixing a light bulb and they'll figure it out.
Right.
It's not about the light bulb, man. It's about the toolbox. Is what I'm saying. It's about knowing, what tools to use at the right time and when and
I like
where,
that.
and then what tools are useless. And then you're saying, listen, this is rusty, this is worthless, or this is not really helping us. Let's get rid of it. AKA, let's, I don't know, wave them off or something.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, how many bucks does it take to change a light bulb?
Exactly.
There you have it. There
Exactly.
you have it. Yeah, maybe that's what it is, huh?
Right. Right. Well, I definitely agree with calling these Bucks players tools because man, they've been playing like tools recently. But also, not to continue the analogy, but you kind of hit the nail on the head with the whole adjustment thing. Sorry, I was there. I had it for the day. But all jokes aside, you gotta make adjustments. Todd Bowles seems to just, like you said, he kind of just runs the defense out there, and what he's got is what he's got. They looked at the tape, and that's what they're sticking to. Just no changes at all in the game plan, especially when you're missing big stars, like you said, or big tools, you might say, like a Vita Vea. It's tough. It's tough to win ball games when you're missing so many players. So yeah, I mean, this could definitely be another blowout. Looking at this game, especially with all the injuries and just especially with how poor the Bucks have been playing. But we still got to focus on the game, even though it may not go very well. And there's some great matchups that are going to be taking place. Jamar Chase is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. This Bucks O line is on the opposite end of the spectrum, one of the worst in the NFL, and the Bengals have a pretty decent defensive line with Trey Hendrickson, DJ Reader, their interior defensive lineman, who's playing like an all-pro interior lineman this season, and then another guy, Sam Hubbard, kind of a veteran piece. Hendrickson and Reader are definitely the better of the three, but it's an important matchup. And then the Bucks receivers against this Bengals secondary, because like Zach mentioned earlier, we love to make fun of them. Everyone gives them crap on social media, Eli Apple, but they've also got Mike Hilton and Jesse Bates as an elite safety in the NFL. So what are some key matchups that you're looking at? Maybe one that I haven't mentioned. What's the most important one in this game? Musab, we'll start with you. What's a big matchup for you looking at this Bucks Bengals game?
I mean, just being aggressive on the rush game, locking up the wide receivers and all that, not giving Joe Burrow any opportunity. We'll see how this kind of Bucks offense goes against the Bengals defense. Honestly, it's a different ballpark for me every single game, and it's always full of surprises. And it's almost like there are always changes going on. So for me, I already mentioned it. If we win or if we keep it close, it's because it's the defense / because we keep it a close game, and it's going to be a low scoring game for all my little gambler betting buddies and all that. I'm thinking the under. Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be yeah. Well, I'll say this: if the Bucks show us that they still got something in it, then yeah, we're about to hit the under. It's going to be a low scoring game, or it's going to be a dogfight, or hopefully, but we'll see how it goes. After a stinger loss like this, guys. I mean, I don't know what to expect. This is not some little random stinger loss. It's one thing if we're already looking hot and then we had this weird, awkward loss, but this is reasonable and understandable. And, as we discussed this last week, Carter, I mean, we were all thinking it was going to be a close game, whether we win or lose, but not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, not at all. That's a great way of putting it. It's a mixed bag of Bucks performances. You don't really know what you're going to get. Yeah, I mean, it's inconsistency seems to be the only consistency with this team, which is a weird thing with a veteran roster. So yeah, I'm with you. Definitely the key matchups. The Bucks need to get the running game going, and they really, like you said, they really need to focus on limiting these wide receivers, not letting them get a large amount of separation because they've got T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd too. In addition to Jamar Chase, they've got some dynamic receivers out there. Zach, how about you? What are some key matchups you're looking for in this game? maybe one that me or Musab haven't mentioned. What you got?
Yeah, I think a big one that kind of hasn't been mentioned, and I think that it is because it seems like it's going to be a blowout as far as like the differential between the two, and it's not really a position, but more of a head coach. You know, you're going to have to see can Todd Bowles call a good game against Zach Taylor, who I think Zach Taylor is one of the better coaches. It is our coach still, right? Zach Taylor. I'm not going crazy. Okay, I thought so.
What's your name?
But that is my name. Zach is my name. But I think that Zach Taylor is one of the better coaches in the NFL and a younger coach as well. So I think that seeing that go down is going to be what make or breaks the game. If Todd Bowles can call a better game than Zach Taylor, then I think we have a chance. Again, realistically, not going to happen. But if it does, that's, I think, the key to us winning this game. Something different than just player versus player. I think game play and game calling is going to be the better, I guess, thing.
Right. No, absolutely. I'm with you. That's a great point. That's something that I didn't necessarily think about. But Bowles is the defensive coordinator for the Bucs. You know, he calls all the defensive plays. He's a defensive play caller, and Zach Taylor's the offensive play caller. So it's a really interesting kind of dynamic, kind of a head-to-head matchup in head coaches. And as someone who loves Joe Burrow, I watch as many Bengals games as I can. The most frustrating thing about this Bengals team is their red zone performances. Zach Taylor loves to call these weird red zone plays, like a direct snap to the left tackle or some weird stuff like that. I'm sure that's never happened, but you know, just weird crap like that happens, and it's very frustrating because they have these dynamic playmakers. So I think if the Bucs can take advantage of that, if they can kind of catch Zach Taylor trying to get too creative or outsmart himself, then they could force a turnover, get a big red zone stop. That would be really key, just from a head coaching perspective. I love that you brought that up, Zach. That's a great point. So now let's do some predictions. You know, we've kind of talked this game to death. Musab, we'll start with you. Final score, who do you think wins?
I'm going 17-13 Bengals.
Okay, 17-13.
That's my optimistic hope, but who knows what happens? Who knows? This could be another ugly game, but there's a side of me that just wants to stay optimistic. I'm going to go 17-13 Bengals.
Okay. Zach, how about you? What's your final score? Who do you think wins?
Not as optimistic, 38-10 Bengals.
Wow.
Yeah, another shellacking.
Wow. All right. Hey, fair enough. 38-10. Man, I thought I was going to be the negative Nancy in this group, but good Lord. I'm going to go 24-6 Bengals. Yeah, I'm with you, Zach. The Bucs have played so poorly this season, and last week was just kind of the epitome, a great snapshot of how the season's gone for them. And I think they're going to continue their poor play going into this weekend against a really, really hot Bengals team. They're playing well, and they have a lot to play for. They're in a really tight division battle with the Baltimore Ravens. You know, they see Tom Brady. Everyone's going to play up for Tom Brady in this Bucs team because Tom Brady is the GOAT. You know, he's got this huge reputation. So they're not going to come out flat. They're not going to see the Bucs as an inferior opponent. They're going to be excited, and I think that they will play a really great game. Zach Taylor's going to come up with a great game plan. You know, he might call some weird plays now and then, but, you know, he's still, like Zach said, a really good coach. So, yeah, I mean, that about does it for us. If you've stayed on this long, thank you so much for listening. I know that I have talked way too much, and my co-hosts have done a great job of supporting me through that. So I want to thank y'all as well. Thank y'all so much for listening. If you're listening, you know, whatever platform you're on, like or subscribe. It's free. You know, if you could just hit that button, we would greatly appreciate it, supporting the podcast. Thank you so much, as always. Hope y'all are having a great week, despite the fact that the Bucs are kind of stinking it up right now, and they'll probably continue to do so. But hope your week's great anyways. Like I said, like and subscribe. It definitely helps. And, you know, as always, go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Go Bucs. Say it.
Go Bucs!
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.